All right, everybody, we're back again for our second part of the session this morning. Please let me know if you are in and can hear me speaking. All right, are you guys able to see the screen? Looks like you can. All right, excellent. So we'll just wait a few minutes here. All right, so another minute and a half. For those of you who don't know, we've got the 5-tick momentum bar in the upper left with spotlight, the 8-tick, the larger bar, 8-tick momentum bar in the lower left with spotlight, and then of course the counterpunch trader is the larger chart on the right, a 377 tick chart. The 377 tick can get so many signals. Is it the only setup under counterpunch? Well, you could reduce it by turning off setups. You could focus just on the green trade. You can go into trend mode. There's ways to reduce the amount of setups. You could also learn which setups work the best versus those that don't, and you could apply other things to help filter out some setups too. But that's true. Counterpunch can give you a lot of setups. It does take practice. Spotlight came after. It is more discriminating. All right, so the crude oil report seems to be coming out right now. You can see that green bar reacting. There it is. Now you see the red bar. So a little bit of a reaction before the report. If my clock was synced properly, maybe it wasn't. But you can see the reaction happening and now selling off. We're going to go ahead and mark the top of the reaction here, and we'll see where the initial reaction finishes on the lower side, marking a range. We'll wait our 2 minutes. Notice that it's getting held up at the 200 moving average. So that seems to be the end of the reaction, but we'll see. It could break through. Looks like it's still trying to get lower. There's no perfect science as to where the end of the reaction is. It might actually be here. We'll scoot this down a little. And we're already a minute in. So we'll be looking to take a setup here within the next 45 seconds or so. Remember, we wait our 2 minutes. There is a setup here that we can get in sync with at 59.47. We would push that down to 46. It's a little bit awkward because that's still within the reaction of the report, but it's a second setup. You had an earlier setup. This is the second one. So let's see what happens here in the next 10 seconds. If we do get into that 49.46, we're not going to adjust down to 44. And you can see that the stop will be at 78. All right, so 46 is the entry to get short. If it comes back up, it may have just gotten away from us. Well, there, it just triggered in. All right, so the stop is at 78. It's a larger trade. It's targeting 59.09. So 59.09, and the money management is going to be at 59.22. Hasn't come into sight yet. It's down here. I'm going to go ahead and put a horizontal line on to keep track of it. It's a much larger trade. We're quite a bit larger than we're used to, but that's okay. If we can continue heading lower, it's okay. And the stop is at 78, which is here. I just borrowed the range of the session. Probably don't need that, but I'm going to put the range there so we can mark where it is. And let's mark our money management zone too. Hopefully it continues heading lower. These different colors. Need that. Okay. All right, so if we can get to 59.22, we will move our stop to break even. So we got to give this trade a little more time because it's a larger setup. You can see that it's already trailing the earlier setup. We could track this one. Actually, there's no way to turn it on, I don't think. Maybe there is. Not going to do it, though. You could use a set startup time to actually make this trade trackable. 10:30:26. I don't know if it responds to seconds. I've never tried that. Hey, John, do you know if that set startup time responds to seconds? So there is a risk of a stop and reverse to long, which would be unfortunate. There it is, but it's filtered out because it's in the squeeze zone. So the failure to get lower could lead to a move higher. Let's see if it can come back down and test these lows. Hopefully finds resistance up here at these moving averages and pushes down. Did it work? So testing these lows, got to make new lows. It's trying. So we could end up with a move higher here. Terribly unfortunate if that happened, but it is what it is. Now, this might have been a case where a stop and reverse could have helped us, but it got filtered out. So we're still short. There's no setup to go long. Now resistance becomes support, so it's got to push through these two moving averages and test these lows again if we have any shot at this trade working out. But that could happen. Guess we'll find out momentarily. Turn off all these alarms. All right, we got like 43 people in here, so welcome again. Currently short from back here, 59.47, targeting 59.09. Stop is at 59.78. Please remember to hit the like button. Appreciate it. We could get a stop and reversal long, but we don't have any setups, which is unfortunate because getting long would have been the right thing to do. Unfortunately, though, that initial setup coming at an awkward place and the filter prevented it. It would have stopped out at break even anyway, but at least we wouldn't be short. So now we just got to hope that it comes back down. It looks to me like it's probably not. I think it's going to keep going up. You never know. So there's our stop and reverse, and that's going to be at 78, right where the stop is. And it did just stop out and get long. So now that's targeting 03, and the stop is at 49. So that was unfortunate, a full loss. And money management, of course, now up here at 93. We haven't seen a full losing trade to start in quite some time. It's bound to happen. But this session's not over. Let's see if we can get a winner here. I'm going to go ahead and borrow these lines. Hopefully the failure to get lower will lead to a strong move higher. This is the range. We're at the high end of the range of the reaction here. You can see it throwing up some resistance. Just kind of color coding everything so that we can see what's what. Counterpunch a little bit out of sync this morning with the unfortunate long trade that would have really saved us if we could have stopped and reversed. And now a new stop and reverse. So things are rough here, and that's going to be at 62. So this might end up being the last trade. And I would even go a little lower to 61, get below the 50 moving average. Hopefully it stays long. So a little out of sync this morning. And we're right in the middle of the range. Notice that the upper end of the range prevented the bar from going higher in our long trade. Hopefully it'll come up and retest and break through. Currently in the middle of the range, but trying to get higher, finding support at that 50 moving average. We have an adjusted stop and reverse at 61, although for me it's just a stop. It's not a stop and reverse. 2 losses, I'm typically done with this session. But we're not out of it yet. It could still come up and break through. So testing the upper end of the range again, we needed to punch through, and it looks like it is. So now we needed to touch 93, and then we'll move our stop to break even, which would be 79. And the stop and reverse is canceled. Make sure you cancel that stop and reverse. Missing money management by 1 tick. So our stop, you could put your stop all the way back down. I will typically leave it. So I got mine, was at 61. I moved it back to 62, which is the adjustment after that short entry at 64. I left it at 62. At this point, if it goes down again, the trade's got problems. That's how I look at it. And 1 more tick. There's money management. So now we'll move our stop up to break even anyway. And we have a chance of hitting a winner here, which would really help. The stop has just moved now to 79. And has moved again. Stops at 83. Actually, it's moved again to 87. Hopefully it hits a target 2. We really need that to help. But 87 is now the trailing stop. It missed its full target by a few ticks, 3 ticks. The stop is now pushed up to 89, and we need to push up to get our target. We keep locking in a little more. Even if it hits the full target, we're still going to be a little negative because it's not quite as big as that first trade losing, but it will definitely help if it can get there. Pushing through the 6. There it is. So there's a full winner, and that helps. And if you're trailing a second position, now it's moving higher to 93. So move your stop to 93. Actually, now move it to 97. It's moved to 97, and you have a target 3 up here, by the way. Let's mark where that is. Target 3 is at 60.14, and the stop should be at 99, 59.99, and it just stopped out. So there you go. Little bit better. That first trade, unfortunately, couldn't get lower. The long trade worked. Remember, the failure to get lower could lead to a strong move in the opposite direction. That's a pretty typical scenario, and it has. Like, it failed to get lower. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get a few ticks lower to money management. And then it came down and tested and failed, and then that set up the strong move higher, and we were able to grab that Now, if this filter didn't mess us up right here, we could have got out of this short trade really close to the entry and only lost a little. That trade would have then broke even when it came back down, and then we would have had the long trade and a nice positive result for the day. But the filter, it's kind of like Halloween, you know, trick or treat. It played tricks on us. It was a mistimed, ill-fated filter that didn't serve us well. Oftentimes it does, but not this time. So that's just a long trade that gets into the zone where the 50 moving average is pushing down to the 200, usually prevents getting long when the trend is down, but the trend had just ended. Of course, we didn't know that at the time. Now we do. It is what it is. If anyone wants to take an additional trade, it's getting a little awkward here because you have a smaller trade, it's still a good size, and it has to break through the highs. And it could because it's trending higher. So if you want to try another trade, as long at 11, 60.11, and that one's targeting 32 and the stop's at 92. So this move higher may have more legs. It seems to me like it could be getting tired also, though. It's hard to know. We've got a couple strong moves up. Will the next leg up have any energy? It's hard to say. Looks like it is. It just got to money management. So at least if you're in the purple trade, you can go to break even. Looks like there are legs to this move higher. So anybody in the purple trade, make sure you move your stop to break even. And this could still come up. It didn't quite get to target 2, though. Still trying. You can see the energy to the upside has waned. Seems to be waning, getting less. But if it finds support here and pushes higher, that can still happen. It hasn't stopped out yet. Again, the stop should be at 60.12. We'll go ahead and review the spotlight trades in a moment. I would not move my stop up. Leave it at 12. Try to stay in the trade. You can see it printed and moved up to 13. We're going to leave it at 12. Give it every chance. No sense fighting over a cheese sandwich, right? Still going to leave it at 12. It moved up. It moved up to 14. I want to give it every chance to get to its target too. So now it's moved up to 17. Again, this is up to you. You can move it up to 17 if you want, or you can leave it at 12. That's a 5-tick adjustment, $50 a contract. So it just hit 17. So if you moved it to 17, you should be flat. That probably gets you close to break even. But if you're going for the bigger move, you're willing to keep a few ticks still at risk with your stop at 12. It's still push higher, although it looks like it's running out of gas. No pun intended. And there it is, stopping out at 12. All right, so that's a wrap, guys. Stage to come back. Possibly some of you were able to get to break even or close to it. Maybe even make a little money if you had multiple positions. I don't know. But this session is over. Looking at Spotlight really quick on the 5-tick momentum bar. Lots of movement here. So right at 10:30, it's already below the entry, but it does stab up. No, not quite. Doesn't quite get to the entry. It gets long. And that long trade's going to win because with a stop and reverse adjustment, that would push this down 2 ticks to 31 and then minus another 2 around the key level to 29. It never gets there. In fact, it only gets to 32. So it stays long. It comes up, hits target 1. You move your stop to break even. That stop holds, and then it pushes higher and hits targets 2, 3, and 4. So the 5-tick momentum bar was one and done today. If you follow the plan, you have to look past the colors and the dots, but it stays long and it's one and done on a really great trade. So definitely outperforming Counterpunch today on Spotlight with the 5-tick momentum bar. On the 8-tick momentum bar, let's look at what that one did. Also waiting 2 minutes. And after the 2 minutes, it's already went too far, so you have to wait for the next setup. You have a squeeze zone, same as with Counterpunch, so you can't take it. But what it does do is it avoids getting short. Counterpunch didn't avoid getting short. So then you have to wait for the next long trade, which happens here, which is off of the 20 moving average. So you have your action move up, your reaction into your 20 SMA, which is often what happens. That's the beauty of the setup. And that one comes all the way up and hits its first target, which is the objective on the 8-tick momentum bar chart, on this chart. So $190, then it hits target 2, $300, continues to trail up and misses target 4 by 1 tick before it's still going. So this one's still going. So Spotlight kicking butt, one and done on both charts. Counterpunch did a pretty good job. I mean, unfortunately, we grabbed that second, that short trade. And I mean, it's debatable as to whether we should have. And the reason why I say that is because it was kind of part of the reaction and it was a larger than usual trade. But the thing is that it was the second trade. Like the first trade in the reaction was this bright green trade. That's the one I usually avoid. The second setup, I mean, I'm not going to say I made a mistake because it's just debatable. Who knows? I mean, it was still within the reaction, but it almost came down. It could have been a big winner. I mean, how sickening would have it felt if it came all the way down and hit those big targets and we avoided it, right? So it's like, I don't know. I had to make a call. And it was the second setup. I usually don't take the first one. So I threw the trade out there. And then the filter messed us up because it would have been great to stop and reverse right up in here. And then we would have only lost a few ticks. And then the second trade would have triggered in here. Well, it would have triggered in here, right? But it would have stopped out at break even. Even so, it would have been a better result than a full loss because that was a big setup. 31 cents is bigger than normal. And then we got another nice sized trade. I mean, this is a good trade here, but it was only 27 cents. And a little less if you stopped and revert. Well, no, that was the actual stop. It's the same level, I believe. Oh no, the stop was at 78. And this entry was at 76. So a 2-tick adjustment. So I got in at 77, just where I got filled. I had a positive slippage of 1 tick. But anyway, you can see what happened. Not quite enough to get positive. So you could take this third trade here. If you did, it didn't quite have enough to get up there, and would have just been if you would have moved your stop up all the way to 17, you probably would have been really close to a break-even session, give or take. So anyway, that's how it went, guys. We're done. Hope you enjoyed the session. Let me know if you have any questions. Please do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Like. And otherwise, remember, tomorrow John will be in here. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everyone.